Hi everyone, so we're doing a full body Pilates session in this video. We're going to primarily focus through our core, our glutes and our back muscles. But we're going to start off just in this kneeling position, or you can do this one stand if you want, just with our breathing and core activation exercise. So I put my fingers on my sides for this one here. I'm going to take a nice deep breath into the nose, and as I breathe out, I'm going to dig my fingers into the side and I'm going to gently push my stomach against the fingers to activate the core muscles. I'm going to hold that through that breath out, and then I breathe in again. So we're going to do about 5 of these. We're going to start off taking a nice deep breath into the nose. As you breathe out, try and dig those fingers into the sides, push the sides against the fingers, hold and maintain that position nice and lightly as we exhale. Once we are out of air, we breathe in again, we relax our muscles again, we can relax the fingers. And then as we breathe out again, we're just trying to dig the fingers into the side, pushing the side against the fingers. We're just gently trying to activate our core muscles here. Just to remind ourselves how to activate those. So with our fingers digging in and our stomach against those fingers, we can feel that core connection. We'll do one more here if we're there, breathing in. And as we go out, try and dig the fingers in, exhale, push away. Good, well done. So from here, we're just going to gently bring ourselves around to the all four position. We'll just add a little bit of beginner plank with that core just to further warm it up. So we're in our hands and knees position, knees about hip width apart, hands about shoulder apart. And we're going to try and elevate the knees just slightly off the ground and try and engage the core muscles when doing this. So if you keep an eye on my hip area, you'll notice what I'm going to try and do is tuck the pelvis in the way and try and gently bring it closer to the rib cage, and that'll help activate those core muscles. So when I'm in this position, I'm not only thinking of trying to push my stomach out against my fingers in my mind, but I'm also trying to just gently tuck the pelvis in a bit here, and that'll help switch on that frontal core area. Okay, so we're going to take a nice deep breath in, and as I breathe out, I'm just trying to gently engage the core so my pelvis is tucked in. Hold in that position. I'm going to try and lift the knees slightly off the ground and hold them through that exhale. Once I'm back down on the mat, I can breathe and relax. But again, we're trying to focus on the core muscles first. We're gently tucking the pelvis in a bit just to feel that core activation. Holding that as I lift the knees slightly off the ground through that exhale. Breathe in once you're recovered. We'll go for 5 of these. Again, trying to reset the body, engage the core, lift the knees slightly off the ground, holding through that maintaining position, release and recover, coming back in. 2 more here if we can. When we're lifting again, when you're ready, holding that position just slightly off the ground with the knees. You don't have to go too high here or put all the pressure on the shoulders. So it's just a slightly off the ground. We're trying to hold and maintain that nice neutral spine. Last time, when you're ready, breathe in and again, reset the body, engage that core area and lift and hold through that exhale. Once we're back down, we can sit back into recovery for a second, take the pressure off those wrist joints. If they're tight, they can just roll the hands out. Since we're not used to this movement here, the muscles can be weak around the wrist joints, or if our hand position is just slightly off as well. So if you're ready from there, we're going to work into our tabletop sequence now. So our opposite arm, opposite leg sequence, we're going to go for the right arm and left leg. We're just going to go 2 each side. So you're going to reset our body, knees and hands nice and out. Again, hands shoulder apart, knees hip width apart. Focusing on that right arm and left leg sequence, we're going to take a nice deep breath in. Again, we're trying to gently squeeze the core. We're going to push the left leg out. Right arm rises, bringing the hand and knee together to touch if we can. Exhale, working away. So we're just taking our time with this one, nice and controlled, nice and slow. As our leg sweeps back, we're trying to keep the leg under the hip with this one. It keeps our hips nice and balanced. And our aim is always to connect the core as we stretch out. So I'm still trying to squeeze and hold and maintain that core position as I go out and in. Trying to exhale away, inhale, coming back in. Don't worry if you hold your breath at times. It's a little bit easier to engage the core muscles by holding the breath. So that's okay. We're just trying to gently try and keep our breathing throughout the class as best we can. We'll do 2 more here on this side. Away and come back in. On the second one, we're going to try to keep the arms and legs lengthened as we come down and lift. So we keep that length if we can. So with this one again, just put a little bit more pressure on the muscles with that longer limb and keep them in that position. Eyes closed can make it harder for the balance if we want. Again, if we need, we can go all the way down, recover for a second and lift. We'll do 3 more here on this side. And then as we come back, we're just going to come back into recovery again, taking the pressure off that left wrist joint, that left side. You can roll it out if it feels tight. Take your time. So with the arms extended out with these, you're just going as far as your range of motion can take you. Always sticking off our legs, staying under the hips as we kick it back. It'll give us a little bit more balance in the center. So if we are ready there, we're going to reset our bodies in that all 4 position. Knees hip width apart, hands shoulder apart. We're working our left arm and right leg now through the 2. Nice deep breath, and again, trying to again gently squeeze the core first as you work the hand and leg out. And if you can, bring hand and knee together to touch, work away. If this feels too much, we can bring it on the ground, you reset and lift every time. Give your right side a recovery by taking more pressure on the left, wherever you feel comfortable. Nice and easy away. And come back in, trying to stay with the breathing as best we can. Again, leg stays low as we kick back. Just the hip height, the max when you're lifting. Try not to go very high because it will put our back into a little bit of hyperextension, and you can put a little bit of pressure on the lower back muscles with that. So we're trying to keep that back nice and neutral, core nice and squeezed as we work away. As we work out here, we're going to try and keep arms, legs long as we bring our fingers and toes on the ground. Reset the body as we breathe in. We lift, float back down. Hands and feet can stay off the ground through this sequence. So keeping them off the ground, keeping the tension on the muscle, not giving it a recovery. But again, we can come down to recover for a second and lift if that feels more comfortable for you. Just seeing how your body feels through the movement. Do 3 more here. And as we come back in, again, we'll come back in for that recovery. Recover the body, recover the muscles for a second or 2, recover the wrists. Again, we can roll them out if they're still feeling tight or fatigued. Relaxing the elbows down if there's pressure on your elbows and shoulders, just allowing your muscles to recover in this position here. It's also a good stretch forward back and that posterior chin. Good. So we're just going to move a little bit into our back now, so we're going to work ourselves down into the prone position, just bringing our chest on the mat. Just going to flow through a little bit of the entire body in this video. But again, anytime you recover, you can take a recovery, sitting back in that child's pose, you stretch and recover the back if needed. So coming down into a lion position, face down, we're going to bring our feet about hip width apart, hands about shoulder apart for this one here. We're just going to work into an opposite arm, opposite leg movement, so it's our star, okay? So it's a right arm with the left leg, and the left arm with the right leg. So what this is working is our upper body and lower body at the same time. Nice deep breath in. When you're ready, we try and gently lift the right hand and left leg off the ground, and we float back down. Once we're there, we'll try and work the other side and come back down. Just trying to flow through this movement side to side. So you've had a little bit of pressure in your lower back muscles here as we lift the leg off the ground, so we target them, a little bit of the hamstrings and the glutes, and as we lift the hand off the mat, going into our upper back and shoulders. What we're trying to do is try and maintain that core connection as we lift. Breathe in, recover for a second to reset and squeeze the core again as we lift the other side. If the core's strong enough, we can keep the flow going and keep the core connected. The reason we keep the core connected on the lift is we don't want to overload the pressure on the lower back muscles. So if your muscles in the front isn't kicked in, you'll find your lower back muscles will fatigue a little bit quicker. So in my mind, as I lift my hand and leg up, I'm trying to think of my fingers digging into my sides and I'm pushing against the fingers in my mind, pushing my stomach out a bit just to engage the core muscles, holding that through the lifts. As they come down, I can recover for a second, breathe, and then re-engage my core as I lift the other side. Do 1 more each side here through the back. On the star. As you come back down, recover the hands and legs back on the mat. Back on the ground to recover the body for a second. Well done. So we're going to just move our hand position a little bit now into our 90 degrees. Just still trying to work the entire back, but we're trying to go into a modified prone lift. So arms are going to come tucked into the sides here. The aim is trying to lift the hands and feet off the ground together. To make this one easier for the lower back, we keep our knees on the ground on the lift. To make it a little bit easier for the upper back, We keep our hands on the ground, just lift the shoulders and the chest. We're trying to rise our chest up to our lower rib cage on this one, just to activate those upper back muscles. And as the legs lift, we'll go into that lower back, a little bit into the glutes and hamstrings as well. So in this position, take a nice deep breath in. Try to think about your core first, trying to squeeze and engage the core as we float the hands up. Breathe in as we come back down. Squeeze the core as we float up. Breathe in as we come back down. So again, just nice and controlled movements here. Trying to get into that back as we lift and trying to control the descent. So we're still working the back muscles on the way down. Trying to control your movement back on the mat. Again, if we can breathe through it. If you're holding your breath, don't worry, just trying to take that breath into the bottom to reset yourself and then lift again. Slight exhale throughout. Coming down if you feel that's comfortable for you. We'll do 2 more here. Last one as we lift. As we come back down, again we can let the back muscles recover, body recover, well done. Good, so we're going to work a little bit into a trickier move for the next one here. It's going to go prone summers. The movement is still going to be the same. We're going to lift the limbs up off the ground, but this time we're going to try to add little pulses with the legs and hands. So I'm going to stretch my hands out a little bit further now for this one. Again, you can make this one easy by keeping elbows tucked in. I'll show you that variation as well. What we're looking to aim here to achieve is nice deep breath into the bottom. Again, we're trying to engage my core muscles. I lift my hands and legs off the ground, and then through at the top through my exhale, and just try little up and down pulses through the hands, through the legs. So just add a little more pressure through the upper back muscles and the lower back muscles with those pulses, and then I'm relaxing as I recover and breathe in. Hand position here can come in closer to the body, but less pressure on the shoulders as we lift into the pulses. And again, if the pulses feel too much on the legs, we can keep them out, okay? We'll give it a go now. We're just going to go for 5 here in total. Nice deep breath into the bottom, trying to lift, try to work through the pulses at the top, through exhale, or just about 5 seconds if you're holding your breath. Allow your body to come back in, to breathe again, to reset the body. And then when you're ready, we lift again, holding, working through the up and down pulses. Trying to still maintain our core connection as we work through this. Recovering as needed. Again, you take a longer recovery at the bottom if you need, and then come back in when you're ready. So you lift, working through those pulses again. Coming back down. Breathing in, 2 to go here through this segment. If we can, we lift again. Working through those pulses. Back in to recover. Reset the body. Coming back up. Last time. Working through those pulses, through the hips, through the shoulders, if we're working through that extended phase with the arms and legs. And then release and recover at the bottom. Well done. So from here, we're going to bring ourselves back into our child's pose for a second. Stretch those back muscles out. Sitting back into our hips, arms a little bit long. Feel that stretch through that lower back as we sit back at the hips, hands lengthened to get that stretch through the shoulders for a second or 2. Well done. Good. So from here, we're going to give the back low recovery. We're going to work into our glutes and our hips for the next sequence. So we're going to turn ourselves around into a side lying position for this next phase. So with our side lying position, we want to make sure our hips are nice and squared and stacked. So they're going to roll forward for our first bit. Knees and ankles are roughly in line as well. This allows us to keep the target muscle area in those glutes. If my leg was flat back here, when I started to say go into a side leg lift, my pressures come from the quads and the hip flexor more down where we want to target those glutes. That's how you turn our bodies to the side. Upper body's just nice and relaxed. So you can have, like I have here, hand underneath, elevating, or you can be a little bit longer with the hand and just be on your upper shoulder, whatever you find comfortable in that there. Coming up to this position here will make the movement harder that you might see me doing in classes or in other videos, so it's up to you in this here. We're going to make it a little bit easier for ourselves this morning. We're going to bend that lower leg back to 90 degrees to give ourselves a bit more hip stability. But if you're comfortable, you can keep the hips, two legs long. That can make it a little bit harder. I'm going to flow through 3 exercises on the flow here, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate what I'm going to do for the first ones. And we'll try and keep that sequence going. If it feels too much, you can recover. So we're going to go into our leg lift. And then from there, we're going to go into our leg circles. And then it's going to be half circles over and back. And I'll explain throughout how to make them easier or harder and how to keep your setup correct, okay? So if we're ready, our top leg's going to stay nice and long on the mat. Nice deep breath in. Try to engage the core muscles if you can through the lifts of these. And we're just going to try and go on that side leg lift up and down. So you try to keep that leg long, keeping the pressure on the glutes, on the hips. If you want to make this harder again, we point our toes down towards the ground. We'll activate those muscles a little bit more, make it a little bit more intense if you want. Or we keep our foot nice and neutral. So everyone will be different here in terms of their hip strength, so it depends on your own hip strength here. You can keep the flow going up and down. You can add a recovery at the bottom for a second or two and bring it back in. If it feels better for you, it's up to you, or you can keep the leg flowing up, flowing down. We're just trying to maintain control of the movement on the rise and on that recovery phase. Always thinking of the muscle group that we're targeting, so you should feel this in behind that bony part of the side of the hip and those medius muscles. That's what we're targeting with this movement. So from here now, we're going to try to work ourselves into our circles. Try to keep your leg nice and long. Try to draw with the heel of the foot your circle. With this one, the larger the circle, the harder it's going to be. The smaller, it's going to be a little bit easier. If you're doing larger circles, you want to keep an eye on the hips, that the hips don't fall off each other, so they're always staying nice and stacked and square. We're just trying to work from that joint. We don't want to open out the hips and collapse behind. We want to keep the hips nice and squared and stacked. Try and keep those as disciplined as you can, and that'll keep the muscle that we want to work always working. If you open up too much and fall back, you're just letting it recover for a second and you're just losing form. So we're trying to take our time, start off with small circles, work into larger if it's there, but small circles should do the trick. Again, you can always take a recovery as needed and come back in if you need. Gonna recover anytime. Good. Let's pause our circles here now. The last one we're going to do half circles. So you're trying to draw a rainbow shape now with the foot, starting on the front and just bring yourself to the back. You don't have to go all the way with our rainbow shapes. And like the circles, the bigger the arc, the harder it's going to be. The smaller, it should be easier. As I draw my half circles, I'm thinking still off my hips, so they're still staying nice and square, nice and stacked. I'm just staying within that range of motion as I draw the circles. Or you can imagine you have a little gate in the middle and you're just trying to lift your foot up and over that gate, coming down, up and over that gate, okay? Nice and small gate, larger gate to make it harder. Can recover the foot on the front for a few seconds if you need, and then go to the back. Or again, we can keep our flow going if the strength is there. We're almost there with this side. That's 3, 2, and 1. As you come back and just relaxing the leg on the ground, keep it lengthened or up, and just tap the muscle out as well, or just rub it if it feels tight. We'll give them a wee bit of stretch after we complete the other sequence. So if we're ready, we're going to just change our position on our mat, and we will even ourselves out on that other side. So on the other side, we're just going to start off with the setup first. So I'm lying down straight here. My hips are nice and squared and stacked, and make sure they're rolled forward. Knees and ankles are all nice and in line. And then from there, I'm going to bend the lower leg that we just worked back into that 90 degrees just to give myself more stability. Again, 2 legs long. It'll be harder for this sequence. If you want to make it harder, it's up to you. We're going through the same 3 now on this side just to even ourselves out. So if we're ready, leg is long, we're going to that leg lift, float back down. So you'll feel this muscle group switching on a little bit quicker than the previous, and sometimes it'll tire a little bit quicker because that muscle was already working a little bit in the previous segment to stabilize everything, okay? So it was a little bit trying to stabilize your hips as you lifted and recovered. Core was working as well, so everything was working on the lower side, and that's why it can fatigue a little bit quicker. But we just go as far as we can comfortably. Everyone's hip strength is going to be different, and you just go to where you feel comfortable. We can recover anytime still and come back in, or keep the flow going, whatever you find. toes pointed down to make this one harder. Nice and neutral foot, should be okay. The recovery is always there if needed. From here now we're going to work our circles, leg long into that circular position. Starting off small, working larger if you want. With the circles as well, we're trying to control our movement all the way around. So we're not trying to go fast and whip it through. We're trying to slow it down if you can. That'll make it harder, but it will give you more control and work the muscle throughout the sequence a little bit deeper. So again, your circles can be a recover one circle at a time and come back in, up to you, or you still keep the flow going if the hip strength feels there. Almost there. So from here we're going to come into our last one now. So again, bringing that foot down on the bottom, we're trying to go into your half circles over the gate. Nice deep breath in to begin. I'm just working away and come back in. Away and come back in. So with our half circles, still making sure the hips stay nice and stacked on top. As you go back, doesn't have to be too far back here. Everyone's range of motion through their hip will be different, so you just do whatever you find comfortable as we work into those small or large half circles. Almost there through this sideline sequence. That's 3, 2, and 1. So come back down, you can relax the leg, you can rub out that glute area, and tap that out, rub it. So we'll move ourselves into a little bit of stretching now for that, just to let them recover. And we're going to bring our back on the mat and we're going to move ourselves into our supine position. So we're going to lie on the mat here. And we're going to bring our feet on the ground if we can. And so stretch into those glute medius muscles. So from here, I'm going to take my right foot across the left knee area. Once my foot is in this position, I'm feeling the stretch already in the right side of the hip. And if that's enough for you, you're going to hold that stretch there. If you want to deepen this stretch, you bring your right hand out, push the knee out a little bit just to deepen that stretch. It shouldn't be too much of a push to get deeper into the stretch. But again, if the push is not needed, don't do it. You're just looking for your stretch point only. So I feel tight there, so I don't need to push the knee out. But if you don't feel anything, you can go a little deeper. That's 3, 2, and 1. It's going to release, bring that foot back down. When we switch over, taking my left foot across the right knee now. And again, once there, this is the area you should feel the stretch in. If not, we can add a little bit of tension to it by bringing my left hand on my left knee and gently pushing the knee out a little bit to get into a deeper stretch. I'm just going to try and take away some of the tension off that side for a few seconds. But if the stretch deepening is not needed, so you don't need to push your hand out here just because you see me doing it. If you feel enough stretch like that, that's enough for you. Just your stretch point release, never any pain. Good. Release and recover. Legs lengthen for a second. Recover the side of the hips, recover the front of the hips. Well done. Good. So our next one is just going to work ourselves into our core here now. So in the supine position, I'm just going to try and flow through a few of these movements here. So these recovery, anytime you recover, you just relax back into this position here and to recover the body. Okay, so we're getting our feet back on the mat just to step ourselves off. We have a little roll ups, roll downs just to activate the core muscles. Hands will be on the thighs. We'll take a nice deep breath in. As I breathe out, I'm lifting my head up off the mat and bringing my chin towards the chest. Gently roll up to my shoulder blades just to feel that core engage at the top and then release and recover on the way down. So just gently rise into that core activation. Release and recover, coming down. So it's nice and gentle movements here. We're just going up as far as you can comfortably. Feel that core connect, release and recover, coming down. So it's a nice and gentle movement. Trying to breathe out on the way up, trying to come back down and take a breath in. You can pause at the bottom any time and just allow yourself to reset for another breath if you want before you rise up into it and recover. Good. So from here, I'm going to try and add an arm overhead movement. So we breathe in at the bottom, breathe in out at the top, and at the top you're going to hold with the hands float away from the knees. Let them come back down to recovery, if that feels okay. If not, you just keep the sliding up, sliding down. But if you want to add the hands away from the body, it's just to add a little bit more tension through your core. You're holding that core connection at the top a little bit longer as we let the hands float towards the sky, back in, back down. Still trying to focus on engaging the core at the top, trying to maintain that core connection as the hands float away, come back in. We'll do 2 more here through this sequence. Good. As it comes down, it's going to recover the muscles for a second, recover the head, recover the neck, recover the core. So from here, we're going to try and work ourselves into your single leg switch. So my right leg's going to extend out here, and I'm going to hug my left knee in towards the body. What we're not going to do is here on this movement is trying to maintain that core connection as we switch the legs, and it depends on your core strength. You can keep the switch going longer, or we can do one sequence at a time and breathe through. So start off, take a nice deep breath in. I'm trying to squeeze my core muscles. So in my mind, I'm still thinking of my fingers digging into my sides, pushing against the fingers, trying to hold that connection, and I'm going to try and switch the leg. If your core's strong enough, you can keep that core connection as we work through multiple sequences. Anytime we need a recovery, once we have the knee in again, we take a breath, relax the core for a second, tighten everything up again, and work through that sequence. So we're trying to keep that core connected through the flow so we don't put all the pressure on our lower back muscles. If I didn't connect my core as I push my leg out, I feel my lower back pushing off the mat, trying to activate those lower back muscles to work the system. So I want to keep it all on the front and a little bit on the back. If you don't engage the core, you'll sometimes find your lower back muscles fatigue fairly quickly. And that's because they're just being worked a little bit too much and the core is not ticking as much as you want it. But again, everyone's different as well. So if your core strength is not great, you want a little bit more recoveries in between because your muscles naturally tire quicker. Everyone just goes at their own pace. So we'll do 1 more each side here on this. And then as we come back in, we're bringing the 2 knees in towards the body, just hugging the knees, giving little side-to-side motions with the knees just to recover our lower back muscles as well. As the knees in towards the body, we can recover the front and the core muscles. So from here now, I'm going to try and go into a double leg lower on those core muscles. And then what we're going to do is just relax the hands back down when you're ready. We'll bring our feet on the mat to start this movement off. So from here, we're going to try and just control the descent of the feet from a high position onto the mat. So I take a nice deep breath in, and I'm going to bring my legs up just beyond tabletop, so just beyond 90 degrees. And then nice deep breath into the top, squeezing my core muscles here. You can bring your fingers into your sides to keep the connection with the core, so digging the fingers in, pushing against it, and you're going to try and control your feet down towards the ground with the core muscles switched on. At the bottom, recover and breathe in and walk back up and reset, and we repeat the process. If this feels too much on the body, we can make this a little bit easier by bringing the legs in towards the body, and it's a less of a drop. If you feel okay and make it harder, we stretch the legs out on your controlled descent. At the top, before we begin the movement and engage the core muscles, we want to think of our legs are frozen from the waist down, so we're working from that hip joint. So we're trying to avoid just dropping the feet down and like that there. We want to try and bring the thighs down with it. That'll get into that lower part of the core. If 2 legs feel too much, we can do 1 leg at a time to make it easier again. And just walk back up. You control the intensity by the length of your limbs as it comes down towards the ground. If it's okay and make it harder, we lift the head up off the ground into that rolled up position to make it harder. Depends on people's core strength as well. To make this one a little bit more advanced, we go into what they call a double leg lift, where we lift from the top end, squeezing the core, and then back down. So your core is connected and engaged throughout this sequence, the lowering and the rising phase. This one's a little bit of an advanced movement. If we're not used to this, we just focus on the lowering and build back up. This allows your core to have that recovery, and it allows you to focus on the core muscles as we drop down just only. And again, head can stay on the ground to make this one easier on the body. You choose the intensity of how long your limbs are. We'll do 1 more here. Reset, squeezing the core, and as we come back down, we'll let the legs float back down on the ground, let the hips recover, glutes, core muscles recover for a second or 2. Well done. Good, well done. So next one on the core, we're going to turn a little bit into our double leg stretch and just work into that there just to finish off that core sequence. So for this, we're going to start off in a hugging position with the knees in towards the chest, like this. This is our start of the position. With the knees in towards the chest, like the recoveries, this allows you to switch off the core muscles, lower back muscles, and just allows you to recover and breathe for a second anytime you need. What we're trying to do is maintain the core connection as we go out, and then trying to scoop the legs back in towards the chest. So I take a nice deep breath in. Try to squeeze my core muscles first, and let my hands float over the head just a little bit. I'm going to try and extend my legs out at the same time. Once I go out as far as I can comfortably, I breathe in and scoop back in. So the further our legs go out, the more intense it's going to be on the core. Doesn't have to be too far out. If you feel enough about the halfway point, that's happy days. If you want to make this one easier, we just do one leg at a time and back. Still trying to maintain the core connection as we go out with that leg. With the double leg all the way out feels okay for you. Again, we can make this one harder by rolling up into that position, trying to maintain that core connection. Scoop back in. So slower going out, slightly faster going back into that recovery position. Will make it harder again because you're taking your time through the outward phase. You're putting the core under more tension for longer. And again, this is easier with the head on the ground and one leg out at a time. So everyone's different with their core strengths. You just go into what suits for you, which is a challenge for you, but not impossible. Anytime we need that recovery, we just hold in here for a second or two and breathe. Allow yourself to reset and work away. Trying to maintain that core connection on that outward phase. As we scoop back in, we breathe in. Allow yourself to recover for a second or two before you reset and work out again. We'll do last two here, finish off the core. Away, scoop back in. Last one as you go out. And as we come back in, huckle the knees in, everything nice and relaxed. Little side to side with the knees again to recover the core, recover the lower back for a second or two. Well done. Okay, so release our legs back on the mat, lengthen the body out, letting ourselves recover, core back into that position, lengthened position, so we should let it rest for a second or two. We'll just do a wee bit of stretches now just to finish off the body on what we worked and just try to allow the body to recover here for the last few minutes. So we're going to start off with our hip area this morning and into those glutes. So we bring our feet back on the mat and right foot is going to come back across the left knee. This time we're not going to do stretch out the glute max a bit, so we're going to try and bring my right foot off the mat and bring my right knee in towards the body. So as I bring the right knee or left knee in towards the body, I should feel the stretch in the right side of the hips and glutes. I'm going to hold at the stretch point only. So do left in the stretch, your foot comes back out, either on the ground, up in towards the body, will deepen it. You're just looking for your point of tension, no pain. I'm going to hold that stretch. We can hold that left leg for support if we need. Just trying to recover the rest of the body and just hold in that stretch point. From here then we're going to release and recover. So we bring our right foot back on the mat, left foot across the right knee area. And then as I lift my right leg off the ground, bringing my right knee in towards the body and feel that stretch now on the left side of the glutes and hips. And I'm going to hold at that stretch. The further the knee comes in towards the body, the deeper the stretch, the further out it goes. It should be easier. And again, foot can stay on the mat. So foot on the ground is enough for you. Hold that stretch at your stretch point only. Everyone will be different. Everyone's with their muscle range of motion. 3, 2, and 1. Just bring the feet back down. And then we'll stand in that hip area. We'll bring the soles of the feet together here. We drop the knees down either side. As we open out the knees, we're looking for the stretch in the inner thigh area. I'm going to hold that stretch at the point of tension, no pain. Your hands can be outside off the legs for support if you need. You just open it out into the stretch point only. Hold that stretch. Good. As we come back from there, we're going to bring our knees back up into that tabletop position. We're going to hug the knees in towards the chest a little bit again, and we'll try to draw small circles with the knees just to roll out the lower back. So just little controlled circles with the knees just to roll out that lower back. if they feel not too much, so you can go side to side instead of circles. If that's more comfortable for you, just trying to just stretch out the lower back muscles for a few seconds here with our little circles. Good. From there, again, just relax them out, and again, just going to recover our legs back out in that length position to get a pressure off the front of the hip muscles for a second or two. So we work ourselves into our core stretch next, and we'll gently turn ourselves back around into that prone position on the mat. So you're going to gently turn yourself around on the mat here into that setup for the cobra stretch. So our hands going to be either side for this one here. What we're looking to do is just try and peel the chest up off the mat to feel that stretch in the front, and then we're going to release and relax coming back down. So everyone's stretch point is going to be different. You're trying to avoid is pain in the lower back. So if you have a tight lower back, a tip could be to squeeze your glute muscles as you lift to keep the pressure off that area. Or we just don't go as high. We just look for the stretch in the fronts and then let ourselves recover. Again, take a breath or two at the bottom for a second, just to reset if you need. Or just lifting into that stretch, back into recovery. Last one here now. As you lift, you're going to hold at the top for an extra few seconds, just to finish off that stretch on the core muscles. And as we come back down, we're just going to gently bring ourselves back up into the chest pose. We're sitting back into the hips for a second here, hands long, just to stretch and recover the lower back. Good. And then from here, then we're just going to bring ourselves up into all four positions. We're going to work a little bit into the shoulders and upper back of the next one. So we're going to get into a little bit of thread the needle here. I'm going to start off with the right arm. As you breathe in, you're going to try and scoop the arm under. You're trying to lengthen the arm as best you can, and then we're going to breathe out into that stretch away. We'll do 5 each side here. So you come underneath the body, you feel that stretch around the upper back shoulder blade area as you reach up towards the sky. Everyone's range of motion is going to be different, so you just go as far as you can comfortably. Not going to any pain. We're just going into the stretches with these. Just away. And we've got one more here. And as you come back, so that recover, we'll switch over to the other side here. When you're ready, coming under as straight as we can, and away into that stretch. Just gently under and away. We'll give over 5 on this side or so. You can do more if you feel tightness in either side of the shoulder. You can do a little bit more on this if you want. So it's good mobility exercise for that shoulder and upper back area. Good. As we come back from there. So from here, you're just going to finish off the back. We're going to sit back into your child's pose, into that stretch again. And then from here, with the hands, going to walk across to your left hand side. You feel a stretch under your right arm into the side of the back muscles, those lats. And just going to hold at that stretch. So just across into the stretch and hold it. And then walking back into the center when you're ready from there. And then from there, we walk across to the right hand side. Get that stretch under the left side of the back in those lat muscles. And again, we're just going to hold at that stretch for a second or two. And then as you go back into the center point, we're just trying to stretch our arms a little bit further away from the body here and deeper into the mat if you can. Just so you feel the stretch through the shoulders. Trying to sit back and relax into the hips here just to finish off that back and shoulders with this last stretch. Again, every time we breathe out, trying to relax deeper into the stretch if we can through those exhales. Focus just nice and gently into that stretch. Hold it at your tension points. No pain. And from there, you're gently coming back up out of that when you are ready.